Oh, wait, it wasn't you. No, it wasn't.
Hello.
Yeah. How was that for you?
Good.
Because we're going to keep jumping from there, yeah?
Well, I wondered if we could talk about the Akashic Records.
No point in it.
And why do you say that?
What is it?
That's a good question.
Yeah, so if you don't know what it is, why are we talking about it?
Well, maybe I do know what it is.
What is it?
Energetic record of things that have and will happen.
But what does what has happened have to do with your current creation?
I don't know.
Nothing. We are being a little glib, and it may feel impolite, but we don't mean it that way. It's just that our friend kind of touched on that, the slate sort of wiped clean.
Right.
Because you've come for an environment that will stimulate desire, and it was perfectly decided by all participants. And so you've come to this mix of intentions and beliefs so that you can magnificently give birth to your desires. And then the only thing that is important is that you match up with your inner being's point of view in all of this. So if there is anything that matters from any of that, your inner being's got that covered. And the part of what has been lived before that does matter is that you are good and that you are worthy and that you are capable and that you are eternal, and the details of it are as irrelevant as the petty stuff that Esther lived last week. Irrelevant.
Well, is it possible to connect to that joy, that awareness of the inner being?
To know what your inner being knows about all of that?
Right.
Your inner being isn't talking to you about that. You know, it's so interesting. Maybe this will help you. It's the simplest way to say this. So, Esther's been receiving Abraham for all of these years. Her husband, 12 years ago, made his reemergence into non-physical. Now, he had a personality and was very nice to live with and had some things that he pushed against, but not many, but had opinions about things that Esther was aware of. But when Esther writes with him, which she does every single day, or nearly every single day, what she's noticed is that the details of her asking are not what he answers. He answers methodology, energy, how to get her to where she wants to be. He will not nitpick with her or go through that. Even in the life that they lived together really recently, he understands the irrelevance for her powerful now in that. So here's Jerry and Abraham, non-physical, infinite intelligence, not dabbling in the details of the irrelevance. And so what makes people want to know about Akashic Records or past lives or anything that has come before is they are standing in that defensive stance where they're trying to justify why they're standing in a place that they do not want to be. They're trying to explain it with something other than attraction. And you can't explain it accurately in any way other than by attraction. I saw this, I felt this way, I've got an active vibration, and law of attraction is matching that active vibration. Output, input. I put it out in my human form, law of attraction matches it vibrationally. And so whatever I'm outputting just gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. So if what you're outputting is what you're intending, a good way to clarify that is this my opinion or is this my intention? Because your opinion often is about what you've observed and what you've heard and even what you've experienced because it was your opinion. And so law of attraction just keeps compounding your opinion because that's the way the law of attraction works. But now my opinion has attracted all of this. Now what's my intention? Well, I'd like this instead. And that for sure. Helpful?
I think so.
Does it upset you that we are trying to wipe the slate clean? Thank you for those words. Wipe the slate clean of any memories that are in your way. In other words, we love you so much. If you can't find a reason to feel good about the, in perspective, very small vibrational pieces of your own life, why would you want to dig into Akashic Records? That's a good question. Why would you want to dig into anything before now? Try to get to the why of it. Why? Because I want to explain.
Presumably to understand oneself better.
Yeah, but yourself now is very different from yourself before. Esther could not even sort out last week clearly. She couldn't remember. She laid in bed and she thought, when did that go south? I didn't see it coming. It would take more infinite intelligence and far more artificial intelligence and far more computers and search engines than exist in humanity to sort that stuff out.
I suppose it's seeking acceptance for decisions you've made. If you're really owning that you've created the reality you're in, and you are feeling very much that
Can you speak up just a little bit so they can really hear you?
If you're accepting in the moment that you created your reality and you're really not feeling in touch with it, you're really not resonating with it, I suppose you're looking for an answer to that.
In this moment,
how that happened.
Even in this moment of creating a reality, the only pieces that are relevant are my now vibration and my inner being's vibration. This is really good, and it's all your fault. You're talking about the Akashic Records, which you can't really explain. We're talking about the Vortex, and they're two opposite things. Did you hear it? Did you get it? This is everything that happened. This is everything that's becoming. And your inner being's over there, fully aware of what's becoming and calling you to it. And when you look in opposite direction, you get further from where you're going. Oh. So what it comes down to is that thing that humans do so much, where you're trying to justify where I am. Sometimes people would want to talk to us about past lives, and they would say that somebody had given them a past life regression experience and that they starved to death in that past life. So that's their way of explaining why they are hoarding food and eating so much now. And our answer was, well, we don't know if you're getting your past life or somebody else's, but one thing is certain, you're getting what's active in your vibration right now, which is the only thing that matters. And so by looking back for something that supports this resistant stance is not helpful. And your inner being knows everything that you've become and is calling you to it. And so if we could just convince you that when you feel exhilarated, you've got access to that knowing. When you are in love, you've got access to that knowing. When you are interested in something, you have access to that knowing. When you're defensive, the knowing still exists, but you don't have access right now. And so you say, well, I need to dig around and find access. And we say there's only one place to look for it, where it is. And when you touch on the elements of it, then you feel the elation. It's like the hot-cold game that Kate played with Jerry and Esther when she was little. She had Luke's little red toy car in a big room, not this big, but a big room with lots of places to hide things. And then she would give them clues. You're getting warmer, you're getting colder. And because she knew where it was, she always led them right to it. There was no question. They were either moving closer to it or further away from it. And that's the way your guidance system works. Your inner being is calling you to all that you have already vibrationally become all the time.
Can I ask an unrelated question?
Yeah, speak up.
What of addiction in terms of following a guidance system?
Addiction, you mean a substance that you have introduced to your body that now you continue to crave?
Correct.
So what's the question?
Well, smoking, having a cigarette.
What's the question?
It's very easy to, does that truly raise the vibration if you believe it does? And it will.
So the answer to this, no matter what the substance is that you're talking about, it all comes down to the way you feel, like in a moment. So when you light up, do you feel ashamed? We're asking the world at large, or defensive, or uncertain, or frightened? Or do you feel energized by it, focused by it, exhilarated by it? Because everything can be one end of the stick or the other. And your inner being is not ever pushing against an action. Your inner being is not ever pushing against anything. Your inner being is always calling you. on your path of least resistance to where you want to be. So let's say that you're having a very uncomfortable moment. Something really important to you is kind of going wonky and you're feeling stressful. And so your impulse is to include something that you're calling addiction in your experience. So as you breathe it in, or whatever it in, the way you get it in, as you take it into your experience, there's a very strong possibility that your inner being actually called you to that impulse, because your inner being knows that always calms you down, and that you always think more clearly under those conditions, and that what you wanted is really important to you. And so that, what some are calling a bad habit, what you are maybe even calling a bad habit, where you're giving the label of addiction in a very negative way, is the path of least resistance to get you closer to hearing what your inner being is calling you toward. Your inner being is always looking for the path of least resistance in order for you to feel the fullness of who you are. But let's say the addiction is something that costs a lot of money, and let's say you don't have that money. Then you start figuring out ways that you can steal things or borrow things or scam things. And so you get more and more and more and more out of balance. Your inner being is not calling you toward any of those things. What we're saying, and this is unsettling to almost everybody when they hear it before they really get the fullness of what we're talking about. There isn't a right and a wrong that your inner being has an opinion about anything. There's just, here's this person standing where they're standing. We're going to sort of personalize what inner being is like in a way that is a little bit of a far reach, because your inner beings are not standing as personalities in quite this way, but it'll help you to hear it. So your inner being is acknowledging, there's my human extension standing in relationship to something that my human extension wants. And here I am, fully aware of what my human wants. And I'm focused so unequivocally on what my human wants that if my human can get in the vibrational pull of me, my human will feel the satisfaction of moving in the direction of the unfolding that they seek. And there is no negative judgment about anything that you are doing on your way to who you really are and what your inner being saying, no, not that way, whoa, not that way. You're breaking this rule, you're breaking this law. It's not any of that, because through your life experience, you've put into your vortex all that you want, the kindness that you are, the clarity that you are, the physical vitality and healthiness that you are. There isn't anything that you care about that isn't included in what your inner being knows, and it's calling you forward. But humans are so confused because they're listening to that one and that one and that one and that one. And we don't want to say don't trust other humans, but don't trust other humans. In relationship with what you've got with your inner being, with that guidance and that intentionality and that knowing, you see? And so in the moment, oftentimes it isn't the substance that you are addicted to that has anything to do with anything. It's how you're feeling about yourself in relationship to it. So if you feel wrong or stupid or failing or unworthy, you are, wrong reference, miles away from where your inner being, because your inner being never stops knowing your value and never stops adoring you and never stops loving you completely and fully and never stops calling you toward your version of who you are. We know it's complicated, and friends, it's becoming more complicated because as a society, as a global society, you've become so focused on so many opinions of rights and wrongs that you don't even know which end is up in so many cases. You're not trusting your own guidance systems. And that's the reason for all discomfort. If we could just zap you with something, of course we can't because there's no assertion. But if we could just know something so powerfully that when you're with us in our knowing that you know it a little bit too, it would be that you are so good and so loved and so on your way to your expanded, never-ending becoming. And that every time you push against anything, you do something that your inner being doesn't do. And then, for that moment in time, you deprive yourself of the clarity and the vitality and the whatever it is that feels missing when you feel that negative emotion. What's it like being a human?